Okay. So let me introduce Sharon Linnen. I met her 2 meetings ago, and she has written an incredible series of books for children, speaking to children about topics that are very, very difficult for adults to broach with the child. But with her books, these topics are so much more communicable because she, with her illustrations and her approach, this difficult topic of safe touch is made understandable, and she has used a very compassionate tone, and she brings her own experience to her writing. So Sharon, I'll give you an opportunity to introduce your books and your collection.
Yes, thank you guys so much for having me. My name is Sharon Linnen Fordham, and like they said, I am the author of a 5-book series entitled Addie B 123. Now, each book in my series addresses a topic that is socially, physically, and emotionally beneficial and impactful for children of all ages. And some of the topics that we cover in our series are bullying, low self-esteem and self-confidence issues, work and family life balance, friendship and teamwork, and also body safety and protection. Now, tonight's discussion has actually been inspired by one of our books entitled Teach Me Safe Touch, Don't Touch. And this book was created to empower children with the knowledge that could help prevent them from becoming victims of child sexual abuse. Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. One moment here. And what I've done is I went ahead and just highlighted some very key important points because there's so much information surrounding child sexual abuse.
Sadly, millions of children are sexually abused every day by someone they know, love, and trust. Unfortunately, many of these precious, innocent little ones will never disclose the horrible crimes being committed against them. Why is this, you may ask? To name just a few reasons, the child may be afraid of their abuser, embarrassed, or worst of all, the child may feel as though these acts of violations are normal because they began before he or she could even walk or speak. But with your help, we can protect one child at a time from sexual abuse, starting with yours. Teach Me Safe Touch, Don't Touch was written and audibly designed with children's voices to easily teach your child at an incredibly early age about the right and wrong ways or places to be touched by a predator before things progress. It contains safe, child-friendly illustrations and information in which you can communicate to your precious little one. Keeping our children safe from the unthinkable is all of our responsibilities. So please download this book today.
Teach Me Safe Touch, Don't Touch, from the Addie B 123 Children's Book Collection. Thank you for loving me and keeping me safe.
According to the CDC, about 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 13 boys in the United States experience child sexual abuse. Someone known or trusted by a child, or even a child's family members, perpetrates 91% of child sexual abuse. Many of our children wait, or they never even report the abuse in the first place. And I know most parents believe that their child, everyone thinks, oh, my child will tell. But I know that's not necessarily the case because I never told as a child. And I will come back a little later to elaborate a little bit more about that. What is child sexual abuse? Child sexual abuse refers to the involvement of a child, which is a person less than 18 years of age, in sexual activities that violates the laws or social taboos of society that he or she does not fully comprehend, does not consent to, or is unable to give informed consent to, and is not developmentally prepared for and cannot give consent to. This last one, not developmentally prepared for. Child sexual abuse is so many children, and I'll try to speak without getting upset. I have witnessed so many incidences where a child is abused before they can even walk or speak. And the child believes that this is normal behavior. They see nothing wrong with this. There was one incident my daughter and I witnessed at a local shopping center in my area. We were in a parking lot waiting to go inside of the department store when a car pulled up in front of us in a parking area. Now I'm waiting for my daughter because she's looking for something, and this car pulls up and there's an adult male and a little girl, she's probably about the age of 7 years old. So while I'm waiting for my daughter, I'm looking around and I look at this couple in the car, and all of a sudden this man just leans over and he grabs hold of this little girl's face, pulls it to her, and started kissing her as if she was an adult female. And what was so upsetting about it is that the child was kissing him back. She didn't even resist because she feels like this has been happening for so long. She feels like this is normal behavior. And we can't let that happen. When I saw that, I froze for a moment, and I told my daughter, I said, look, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. By the time I got my phone out to record, the incident had already stopped. I didn't know exactly what to do in that case. They got out of the car and went into the store. I didn't want to confront him because I didn't want to put myself or my daughter in danger. I felt helpless because I didn't know what to do about this child. If I call the police, would they, what am I going to say? Well, I saw this man kissing this little girl, but is that enough for them to go ahead and take action? Or there's not a whole lot that they could do if they didn't witness it themselves. So what I did is I wrote down the license plate number in the event that I needed to use it later. But like I said, I felt helpless. And this is one of the reasons that I went ahead. It's like, there's something I have to do because I felt like I let that child down because I didn't do as much as I wanted to do. The possible signs of child sexual abuse. You may notice changes in the behavior where the child begins maybe behaving aggressively, withdrawn, having difficulty sleeping, have regular nightmares, and some may even begin wetting the beds. They may begin avoiding their abuser. The child may seem to dislike or seem afraid of a particular person and try to avoid spending time alone with them. These are the things that we really need to pay attention to. Sexually inappropriate behavior. Children who have been abused may behave in sexually inappropriate ways or use sexually explicit languages. Physical problems. The child may develop health problems, including soreness in the genital areas or anal areas, or maybe even end up with sexually transmitted infection. Problems at school. An abused child may have difficulties concentrating, learning, and of course their grades may suffer because of that. Now, who commits child sexual abuse? People who sexually abuse children can be adult, adolescent, or even a child themselves. Around a third of child sexual abuse is carried out by usually older or children or young people. Now, in my case, an older member of my family, when I was around 6 years old, attempted to sexually abuse me. And I said attempted because by the grace of God, I managed to get out of the situation before there was no, he could not, until he did the unthinkable. I get choked up just thinking about that. We were at a family's home. I mean, and this is the thing, it happens right under our noses and we don't know. Somehow he lured me into a back bedroom and my family was right outside. And that's what's so, thinking about it now, it's insane that he was attempting to do that with family right there in the house and outside of the house. But we were in the back, a bedroom. And I thought nothing of it because I'm just a child. I don't know. This is my cousin, you know, he was probably about 8 years older than I am, thinking back now, you know. But like I said, he managed to get me in the back bedroom and sat me down on the bed. I didn't think too much about it because, like I said, I didn't understand what was happening. I wanted to be outside, but I felt no cause for alarm because this is a family member. This is someone I know. But when he placed his hands on my shoulders and then laid me back, he didn't push me forcefully. He just laid me back on the bed and then put himself on top of me, which is why when I began feeling very uncomfortable and afraid and didn't understand what was happening. And he was fidgeting with his hand. I noticed that. And it was hands bumping my legs, but I didn't understand what he was doing. But now when I think about it, he was unzipping his pants at the time. But what I did do, because I was terrified, I just screamed and cried as loud as I could. He didn't restrain me as far as my mouth. I couldn't get up. But with the noise and being that the family was very close by, he let me up and I was able to go out. But I never said anything, guys. I don't even know why I didn't say anything, but I didn't, you know. So when we think that our children will tell and we don't need to worry about it, that's not always the case. And to this day, I don't understand why I didn't say anything, you know. 9 out of 10 children know or are related to their abusers. Child sexual abuse often happens either in the child's home or the abuser's home. You may notice that an abuser will give a child special treatment by giving them gifts, treats, and trying to take them on special outings. You know, they'll always seek an opportunity to be alone with that child. The long-term effects of child sexual abuse. In the long term, people will who have been sexually abused are more likely to suffer with depression, anxiety, eating disorders, or PTSD. Some of them harm themselves. They become involved in criminal behaviors, misuse drugs and alcohols, and even commit suicide. Now, what can we do to prevent this or help stop it? It is so important for us to pay very, very close attention to those subtle changes in your child's behavior. Make sure your child knows that he or she can talk to you about anything that bothers them. Create that environment where your child feels comfortable, where they won't be shunned or pushed away when they're coming to you with something that is bothering them. Educate your children about the differences between good secrets, such as birthday surprises, and bad secrets, such as those that make the child feel unsafe or uncomfortable. And please teach the children accurate names of private parts and the difference between touches that are okay and not okay. And this is where my book comes in, teaching the children about places to touch that are okay and not okay. Teach Me Safe Touch, Don't Touch is available in both English and Spanish. It is available in also a print combo, which is its English and Spanish in one book. So this is it right here. This is the cover, English and Spanish here. And it's also available in an interactive ebook format. It is designed to be explained by a responsible adult. It is simple, is child-friendly, has child-friendly illustrations, is easy to comprehend. And even though it's the illustrations are friendly and child-safe and easy to comprehend, it must be explained thoroughly by a responsible adult. It also creates that opportunity for that dialogue because it's a very uncomfortable conversation, and a lot of parents do not want to have that conversation or feel like they don't need to have that conversation, but it is key. And not only just your child but other people's children too, because like I've always said, every child is your child. Every child is your child. If maybe it's not occurring in your home, but if you know someone else who has small children, please, it's so important to put this book in their hands, because it is the tool that children need to be able to protect themselves. How many times do we tell our children, don't touch the hot stove, or don't run to the road, don't talk to strangers? We tell them everything because we want to keep them safe, but we don't tell them the exact things that they are so vulnerable. That's where they're most vulnerable. And it's not always the strangers, guys. It's the people that they know, love, and trust. That's the thing. That's the key. We really need to help our kids because they can't help themselves. You know, what would your child do in this situation? Would your child know what to do? Have you created that dialogue? You know, I'll end the presentation with this, and we're open for discussion, ideas, tips, anything that could help me as well, because even though I've put this book out here, I welcome any advice or suggestions, anything that can help further protecting our children. And thank you guys so much.
If you can, yes, that's perfect.
Thank you
The
so
thing-
much, Sharon, for that presentation, and
You're welcome.
thank you for sharing what happened to you personally, because
Mhm.
you know, that's just, it just makes it so much more important that we use this book to communicate the message.
Yes.
And I was going to say, I was wondering if you go around to public libraries to promote your book.
Yes, that, and I've actually started reaching out to, you know, also the RAIN, I believe that's the name. I've
Okay.
left emails, so I'm waiting for correspondence from the both libraries and from that particular organization.
And I'm also thinking CPS, Child Protective Services, all the caseworkers.
Let me write this down too. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
We
The
actually
the foster
invited
care system.
I'm
We actually
sorry.
invited them. I invited them today, but they were busy. I also invited the North Carolina Justice Department, but they've said they want to see the video, so maybe that'll help get
Okay.
Sharon to speak. Yeah. The thing that gives me chills every time I hear this story is that even domestic violence, you know, couples, you know, women who have had their spouses abuse them, never talk about it. And even, you know, even like today, I got so many messages saying, I want to come, but, you know, this is a difficult subject for me, because we know a lot of women in our group that have experienced domestic violence. And they can't even listen to the story because it takes them back to where they were. But when I listen to the story, why does a person who's abused not want to report it, not want to talk about it? Is it because they feel that they've consented to it, or they're part of it, or the abuser is someone they know? You know, all of the above. So
All of the
yeah.
above, and particularly in children. Like I said, some of them don't even know that it's improper behavior because it has occurred before. That's all they know. That's all they know. Some of them, they have been threatened or, you know, what have you, but the majority of the time, it's occurring when so early on that, like I said, it's normal. They don't see anything wrong with it. Therefore, there's no need to run and tell or be afraid.
And we're seeing this because the pandemic results are in there. We're seeing that children have become more secretive. No, they don't want to talk about what they're watching on TV or on
Mhm.
their phones. And women have become, I mean, children have become more inward. They're not talking anymore. So even the research is showing that. So I think your book is important because it gives an opportunity for parents to sit down with their children and, you know, and
Create
work
that
with them.
dialogue. Yes, create that dialogue. That's so very important early on.
Yeah.
Early on.
I agree. So we shared the video before, and we got a lot of feedback from the video. And I think I want to do this, as many times as I can, because I think most people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to deal with it. And we have to deal with it. It's an important thing. You have to deal with it. So it's important. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think another idea is, local community colleges have child development courses where a lot of daycare providers attend these classes to get certified. That's also where you can spread the message about your book.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good idea, Ramona. That's a very good idea. Yeah. And there's unlimited nonprofit organizations that, if you Google it, you'll see there's millions of these nonprofit organizations. I tried to call some of them, that are dealing with this. But they said they are very secretive and they can't let people see their faces and blah, 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 blah. And so, I got a lot of that from a lot of domestic violence organizations when I invited them to the podcast. They said, oh, well, we can't show our faces and blah, 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 blah. So I was like, okay. Yeah.
I love how she gave this testimony because the way that she said it, that's really how it does really happen. Well, I can't speak for no one else, but I know for me, I was around the age of 6 or 7 and all the kids were supposed to be outside playing. And we were just supposed to be, as long as we were in the house before the street lights came on, that's all that mattered in our house. So all the kids were outside and we were at a family member's house and there was a man that was there that was playing cards and drinking with the family members. And he had called me over to his van because he said he had some candy. And, as a child, you want that candy. So I was like, let me go ahead and get some of that candy from you.
Right.
And he pushed me in his van and he began to mess with me. And I began to kick and push him off of me. And then he said, well, go ahead and go in the house and tell people, ain't nobody going to believe you.
Oh,
So I said I was going to go in the house and tell because I know my family don't play that. And when I went in the house, of course, the adults were drinking and playing cards and dominoes and stuff. So as a child, you're to be seen and not heard. So I knew that I had to wait until they were done or wait for the moment to say something. And when I got ready to say something, one of my family members was like, go, get out of here. Go on with the kids. Get out of here and grown folks' business. And as soon as they said that to me, the man looked and he gave me how when a person says something with their mouth, but they're not saying it, he said with his mouth, I told you so. And now I'm about to be 39 years old. That happened when I was around 6 or 7 years old. I was going to take that to the grave with me because it does make you feel nasty or it makes it feel like it's your fault. And I didn't do anything. All I wanted was the candy. I didn't ask him to touch me or nothing. And for him to sit up there and say, well, go in the house, ain't nobody going to listen to you. And then I ran in the house being obedient, knowing that it was wrong. And then for the adults to be like, get out of here, stay out of grown folks' business. It was a while for me to sit up there and talk about it because it hurt. It does hurt. And
sorry to hear that.
When me and my husband have been married for 12 years, but it took the first 2 or 3 years for me to let him touch me like that, to lay in the bed and put my hand on his chest or to hold his hand. I didn't want that. Whenever I got around an elderly man, I didn't want to be around them because of that feeling. And it does something to you where you have to really ask God to heal you from that. Because my husband kept saying, I'm not your enemy. And I know it wasn't my husband, but just somebody just coming and touching you. It does do something to you. It does. So I thank you for sharing this and being a mouth for those that can't talk about it. Because I've only given the testimony maybe 2 or 3 times in my whole life. This will be the 3rd time. Because you don't want to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about it.
You really feel nasty.
My mother still doesn't know.
My mom doesn't know either, and she's alive. And the only reason why my oldest sister knows is because another prophet went to my oldest sister's church and began to prophesy to her and began to start telling her something about one of her little sisters. And she thought it was my younger sister because my younger sister deals with homosexuality. That's something that we're praying that God just breaks off of her life. So she thought that when the prophet was
Italian.
prophesying to her, she thought that it was my little sister. So she was like, yes, it's because she's homosexual, you know, she's gay and all this. And the lady kept saying, this woman isn't gay. The person that I'm talking about, that's your sister.
Right.
And when my oldest sister fronted me on it, I mean, we're both adults when she asked me, but I still I was going to take it to the grave. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. She was like, Ebony, stop lying. Stop. I was like, I don't like, it made me mad. And then I finally came out and I told her, and she was like, why didn't you tell nobody? I tried to. And all the adults told me to go and stay with kids, get out of
That's how
grown folks' business.
I understand that.
Italian.
I
I think
understand
it's
that.
also because the society that we're in doesn't want to deal with it. So even if you were to talk to somebody, who would you talk to? That's number one. And even if you talk to somebody, what could they do? I mean, what could that person possibly do? You know, it's just, you know, what are you going to do? Yeah. You're not going to report a relative or a family member or, you know, like, yeah.
It's so hard. Yeah.
It's very hard. Who would you talk to? Yeah. And then that's a time when God comes in. I guess you get to that point. Yeah. So this is where Julie is going to tell us about faith. Any more questions? All right. So
Thank you, guys.
Let Ramona wrap this up, and then I'll stop recording. So over to you, Ramona.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for taking us on this journey into your life, and also sharing with us how you transformed something so traumatic into something positive. And this positive light that you are shining into the world. And, you know, our prayers are with you, and our good wishes with you, so that you can promote this message to everyone.
Yes.
And, you know, if we can share with you any ideas, perhaps we can email you, or, you know, through Claire, we can send some, you know, any of our ideas about how you can promote the book.
Well, I know because Elton said, you know, he said when he listened to Sharon, he said, now if ever I see anything, I'm going to report it right away. You know, I'm going to go and report it, scream, yes, make a noise about it. Because so many times you see situations and you want to just walk away, and, you know, it's like an accident on the road. You know, how many people stop, you know, to help, or even if you don't want to get out of your car, just call it in. You know, that's the least you can do. At least call it in, so that there's some record that there was a complaint. So yes, there's a lot.
I also want to thank Prophetess Rivers for sharing her testimony.
Yes.
Since you've done it only 3 times, and this was the 3rd time, we are honored.
We are.
Yes.
We are. Thank you, Ramona. Thank you. All right. That's right. And we're really honored that you all are sharing your testimonies with us.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right, Ramona. Thank you, Sharon, too, for opening up to us. Thank you. All right. So you're watching Brightside Global Trade TV, and we are all about educating business owners, because as business owners, you have to take responsibility for things that are going on with you. A mother could come to you and ask for a day off because her child is in need, and you might want to give that day off. So there's a lot of things that I think that should be in any company manual, is to really deal with abuse in a very big way. So we are in the 21st, 22nd century, and we need to make this part of our life, our homes, our community, our businesses. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast, because it's important that my business owners or people that I am empowering get a 360 approach on everything. So you not just be a business owner, but you're a community leader, and you lead with confidence. So thank you, Ramona, for moderating the session. We appreciate you. And thank you all for being so brave to join us today. So thank you for being here.